Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about healing through parenthood. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to tonight's video.
Out of the ashes, we will soar to a destiny we can't ignore. Heartbeats echo through the night with every dream and endless flight. Together strong, let's break the mold. Our rebirth and stories told. It's time to renew, rebuild, restore. Unlock the dreams we've been waiting for. Rise up higher, more and more. With every breath, a new dawn's roar.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. I know you could be anywhere, but you chose to be with us tonight. Welcome back, Corey Wilkerson. What's up?
What's happening? Monday. How you doing?
Monday. I'm well.
You good?
Well. Yeah, I'm cold though. You know, it's cold in the studio, y'all. So I have my little comfortable blanket with me.
Well,
but I'm good.
you know,
Good.
It's still February. It's still cold.
It is.
So it's all good.
I'm ready
It's all
for the
good.
spring. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the 70 degrees, no wind.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I need that. So it's coming around the corner. It's coming.
It's coming.
Hopefully
We about
no
to
more
be
snow.
outside.
Yeah. I get back to these walks.
Right.
God.
Exactly.
I need them.
Exactly.
I need them.
Exactly. What's up, everybody? If you're just joining us, again, welcome to Rebirth Podcast. I'm your host, Shea Marriott.
And I am Corey Wilkerson, a.k.a. The Thinker.
The Thinker.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Corey, we've been talking about your podcast and how that's going to be coming. Any updates for the people?
Yeah, so gosh.
Put you out there, right?
No, it's all good. I love it. So I had had multiple launch dates. So I had the logo already set and all of that, but the logo, I got sent the proofs of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to rearrange it and change it because the watermarks were still on it and I couldn't find the original proofs of it. So I had to redo the logo. So I submitted to get the logo redone.
Mm-hmm.
I got the first proofs of that back last week. Mm-hmm. Right. So that was part one. Part two, we've already recorded
Mm-hmm.
probably about 7 episodes.
Yeah,
right. So I re-listened
We
to
did.
3 of those last week, and I did send 2 of them out just to get some feedback.
Oh, okay.
Right. Which was good. Right. And I
Good.
think that people are excited. Yo, you need to put this out tonight. I was chill out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's you need to put this out tonight. I've never saw you vulnerable before. I'm all right. Right. Yeah, you did. And they were writing. It was I was going to ask that question. Say, oh my God. Right. So that's a plus. So,
Yeah.
I did speak to the folks that are helping me with the marketing piece and all of that. The logo hopefully should be done in the next week and a half.
Okay.
Right. So I can start fully launching. Throwing it out there in marketing. I got to chop up those 4 episodes that we did to start putting it out. So I did commit to, I told the lady I was marketing with the second week in March, we should be straight. So that's the launch date. So coming soon. So
all right. So it's different.
It's different.
It is. What we signed.
I know.
But it's all good.
I know. But that's before I didn't know that the logo was done.
March.
That was the logo.
Y'all heard it.
Yeah,
March.
y'all heard
It's
it,
coming
March.
in
It's coming in
March.
March.
And please let them know the name again.
The Other Side of the Story.
Mm-hmm.
The Other Side of the Story. So it should be fun. I can't wait. And I've already started doing other interviews and starting those type of things. So
Okay.
it'll be good.
All right.
Ready to go.
Let's
Ready to
get
go.
into it. So as you guys know, it is Black History Month. And, here on the Rebirth, we actually celebrate Black History all year round. But we are going to recognize tonight Taraji P. Henson.
Yvette. I'm gonna block on my phone tomorrow. Yvette. That don't look like Yvette though.
Shout out to Taraji P. Henson. She is a champion for mental health.
Yes.
This week, we're honoring the phenomenal Taraji P. Henson, an award-winning actress, producer, and a fierce advocate for mental health in the Black community. Beyond her iconic roles on screen, Taraji has used her platform to break the stigma surrounding mental health. In 2018, she founded the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation, named after her late father, a Vietnam War veteran who struggled with mental health challenges. Through her foundation, she works to provide mental health resources, education, and support for Black communities, ensuring that therapy and healing are accessible to those who need it most. Taraji's transparency about her own struggles with anxiety and depression has been a beacon of hope, reminding us that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. She continues to push for change, advocating for mental health, wellness in schools, workplaces, and beyond. Salute to Taraji P. Henson for using her voice to uplift and empower. Thank you, Taraji P. Henson. We appreciate all the work and your advocacy that you have brought to the mental health community and mental health awareness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So shout out to her. Yeah.
Well,
so that's our Black History moment.
That's a good one.
So let's get into tonight's episode, guys.
Yes. Healing through parenthood, navigating the emotional triggers and breaking the cycle. So I thought about this topic just because I don't know if it's talked about enough, right? We're both parents, right? Folks in the studio, I think we're all parents, right? And a lot of our listeners are definitely parents. Or if you're not, you are somebody's child. At least that, right? So that brings us all together at some point.
That's right.
But what I will say is that I don't know what is the platform for parents to not only heal, because we always come from some type of, we talked about it last week, whether it's trauma, whether it's being the benefit or not the benefit of being parented, and how does that cascade over into how we parent, our parenting styles, right? And I think one of the things that I've noticed is that from a parent perspective, do we have the platform to be honest about our journey as parents?
I think we should.
Absolutely.
I think we should, because that's how you break generational curses.
Yes, for sure. And what is it like to be honest about being a parent? Like, the truth is, sometimes you don't want to be a damn parent all the time. I'm sick of you bastards. Right? Or what is it? I heard a powerful question one time, and they said, what do you do when your kids hurt your feelings?
I tell them.
Right? Now, you tell them.
I tell them, yes.
Sometimes I tell them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell them. Right? And it could not necessarily be direct, right? But I think it's important that we find a voice to how do we communicate that? Because sometimes people feel like that is betrayal, or we're going to hurt their feelings, or, they talk about how do you parent adults? And when I say adults, meaning like young adults, right? 18, 19, that 17-year-old range, right? That's where it gets a little dicey. That's when I feel like that's like the harder part of parenting sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. And I say that because that's when it's all about influence, and all the things that you've taught them have to come into play, and you have to start trusting that you, right? And then that's when they have opinions, and they have, they're able to articulate something back to you that you ain't really ready to hear. And now you're looking at a parent, not your child. Right? Are you looking at an adult, not your child? Right? So, I think one of the things that came up to me was, like, how do we find a voice, and how do we communicate that not only to other parents, because I think we do that. Like, we'll get on the phone, girl, boy, guess what? Or how do we communicate that to our kids, and how do we continue to form our relationships with our children as they get older? And also, how are we healing ourselves?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we will maximize ourselves and be the parent of, we just don't stop parenting. Right? And we will kill ourselves trying to make sure that they're happy, or we will stress ourselves out because we're always over worried or over consumed by some of these things that happen.
But I think that also comes from, I think a lot of people parent based off of their own experience and what they did or didn't have, right?
For sure.
So if you grew up not having the opportunity to be in dance or be in karate or play basketball, then you may have your child in all of these things all at once, and also, you know, them attending school, right? So we kind of overdo it. We're trying to make up for what we missed when we were younger.
And never asked them.
Right. And never asked them.
Did you really want to be in dance?
Exactly.
Right. But those are the things, and we live, they say we live our lives through them. Right. But you know, I was raised by an old school mom where she ain't really ask you your opinion about a lot of stuff. Right. Like, this is what we doing.
Right.
Right. And, you know, I had a couple of stats here that came, right? It talks about parental stress. It says a survey by the American Psychological Association found that 75% of parents reported feeling stressed about parenting, indicating an emotional strain that can lead to unresolved issues. Another one, we talked about generational parenting, right? Research suggests that parents who experience trauma are more likely to pass on those patterns to their children, with studies showing that up to 40% of children traumatized by parents may also experience mental health issues.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a real thing.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, like, how do we do that in a healthy way? And, you know, some of the things that I thought about is, are we triggered by our own kids? Do our kids trigger our emotional wounds just by them growing up, right? We talked about maybe how your mom raised you, or how my mom raised, or how my dad did certain things, or how people that, you know, babysat us did certain things. We come from that world, and the way they parented us. We talked about, like, you know, what is this? It's not soft parenting, but like
gentle parenting.
Gentle parenting. Is that the right way to go? Right? Or do we need to be, you know, made to feel gentle? So, like, you know, a question for you, just as we kind of think about this, right? Like, have you been triggered by some of the things that your kids have done or not done? And when I say triggered, like, to say, like, that didn't feel right to me, or that didn't feel good to me. You just kind of held it in.
Have I been triggered by something that they done, or have they hurt my feelings?
Have they hurt your feeling? Yeah.
Okay. So yes.
Okay.
And not intentional, right? We know that it's not intentional. But my little feelings is very easy to be hurt. It's very easy to be hurt, right? So I have to say my youngest son, Bryson, because he's a Leo, right?
Oh my God, my daughter's a Leo.
Yeah. Man. So with him growing up, he went through this, like, just understanding his moods, right? He's a lot like me. He likes spending time with himself. And I don't want to say alone, because it's not about being alone. It's just being with yourself, right? So he likes spending time with himself. And sometimes maybe his mood was just kind of like, you know, and I'm thinking something's wrong. Like, well, what's wrong? Like, why aren't you talking to me? Like, is it me? You know, you okay? Everything okay? Anything happened in school? And if I'm asking it several times, it may become annoying to him because he's already in like a So his response may be a little shorter than what normal is.
Okay.
But respectfully, because they don't never say anything that's disrespectful to me, right. But maybe how it was said, or, you know, the lack thereof emotion behind it.
You have an example?
That's what I'm saying here, trying to think. Like,
is it like, Mom, good? Like,
like, well, that happens, but it wasn't that. I'm trying to think. It may have been something as simple as like, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm okay. I don't want to talk about it right now. Right. And it's just like, I'm only trying to help. You know, I'm only trying to, you know, support you. You know.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about it right now.
Right.
I'm okay. I'm good. Right. So now I'm feeling like, okay, I'm failing, you know, like I'm not addressing what's wrong, like what's really happening, what's going on, right? And then later he'll come back and say, Mom, I'm sorry. I know you was only trying to help, right? And then that's when I would share, you know I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You know I'm going to check in,
Right.
right? So even if you don't know what to say at the time, just say, you know what, Mom, I don't have the words to really explain what's going on, but when I find them, we can talk later,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Give me something.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
know that you're not ready to jump off some type of cliff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I said, yes, I do tell them, like, yo, bro, like, we had to say it like that,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure.
But it's very, very, very rare
Yeah.
when that happens. Yeah.
And I know we talked about last week how we have, I think you called it second generation trauma. No, not second
No,
generation.
second hand trauma.
Like second hand trauma.
Second-
Yeah, second generation.
I'm
Jeez.
sure that happens too.
Yeah,
Right?
but you see so many things happening with these young adults, right? And how they're handling things on their own or how they're self-medicating. So when you ask that question, he's kind of like, we'll talk about it later. Like,
Right.
what does that mean?
Right.
Right. And then you see them isolating or they're just in their room
Right.
or they're just quiet. You over.
Yeah.
Right. And you stress yourself out thinking like, what the heck is going on?
Mhm.
And for them, it's like an invasion of privacy. Like,
Mhm.
give me my space and I'll come back to you. And, you know, my kids just don't come back. Like, they'll say it eventually somewhere down the line, 2 weeks later. Right. Which drives me crazy.
Meantime,
right?
you done lost all your hair.
Lost all my hair. I ain't sleeping. Right. I done watched 4 episodes of the Cosby Show because that's my zen. Right. Yeah. Like, I would need to relax.
Okay.
It's Andy Griffith or the Cosby Show.
Yeah. Oh, you really sure?
Yeah.
Andy Griffith still come on? Okay, that's
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it. TV Land. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But it calms me.
Uh-huh.
Right. And I think because I used to watch it with my dad. Right.
Oh, nice.
Or the Cosby Show when I was growing up,
Yeah.
it calms me down.
Gotcha.
Right. So like I'm like, okay, so what's going on? I'm paying attention, watching. Right. Or sometimes I'll just knock on, you know, my son's door and I'll just say, what's up? What you doing? He'd be like, nothing. Right. Looking at me like I'm bothering him.
Yeah, you're
right?
annoying him.
Yeah, I'm
Corey.
annoying him, right? So like, but that's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
But when we close that door and let them have their space,
Yeah.
what do we do as parents
Yeah.
to self-help ourselves? Like such and such is going on, you know, how do we do that, right? And I think that's important. Like this, as I was kind of like just talking to, you know, parents that I know, we all have a similar story, right? And some extremer than others, right?
For sure.
But we don't always have that safe place to just say like, I'm just not having a good parenting moment tonight. You know what I mean? We will make it about something else, or we will make it about the job, or we will make it about we're just tired. But sometimes it's okay to say like, I'm feeling less than as a parent, right? And it may not be us. It may be something totally that we're putting in our own minds, right? And I just think that's important for us overall to discuss as from a parenting perspective.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's different from mom to dad.
Of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So like as a mom, what are some of the things that you feel like you may worry about as opposed, I don't want to say as opposed to a dad, but like what are some of the things that you walk around and you're like just you consistently worry about as a mom?
I think because I am a mental health therapist, I don't want to miss anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have to think about Regina King when, you know, she was very close to her son.
Yeah.
And she knew that her son had mental health issues and she got the help and they've been through several therapy and all of that stuff, right? And then he took his life, right? I couldn't imagine that journey.
Right.
She had to travel and what she has to now live with, right?
sure.
And she did talk about it, right? And I think she put it in a way, her words was, I'm not quoting this right, but it was, I had to be okay that he made the choice that he didn't want to live like this anymore. That he decided that he wanted to, you know, make that choice on his own in his life, right? So for me, I'm always just making sure I'm checking in. And I always, since they were kids, I've always been like that. Just checking in. Are you good? You know what I'm saying? And not just saying, well, how was your day? But you know, what was funny in your day? You know, tell me something that may have been challenging for you in your day. I want the questions to be a little bit more because kids, they be like, oh yeah, it was cool. It was good. I'm all right.
That was good.
Yeah. No, I'm like, okay.
Right.
So that right there is really important for me, the mental health. I know some moms may say, I just want to make sure they not coming home with no babies and stuff like that. Yes, that's also a concern, right? Because kids they're growing up, right? So we don't know, right? Or drugs and all of that. But for me, it's the mental health.
I think as a father, like, I always think about it. I have a son and a daughter, right? So how am I modeling was always a thing. Am I protecting? Am I providing?
Right.
Am I also, honest, and also, like, staying up to date with what they got going on. Like, like, I'm in my 40s, but like, sometimes they make you feel old. Like,
Corey,
what are you talking about?
You're
okay.
getting up there.
Okay. Right.
Except that I have.
Yeah. Right. And then, I think that the big thing for us, I was listening to this gentleman talk about, it was a show I was listening to actually last week, and he talked about, he had like this organization that he did where he just had men come in, right? And he was like giving, it was like a donation he was doing, right? And these men were coming in and were telling their stories, and he said, I totally sat here and like, he said, my perception was like, these African American men are very strong, and they don't show always what's behind the curtain.
Right.
He said, so I call this guy up. He says, a big black guy. He comes up and he's just like, he said, I automatically thought like he was going to be like resistant to me trying to help. So he comes up and he's just like, yeah, man. So, what's going on with you? He says, I'm just kind of, struggling financially. I got this going on, got that going on. And he said, and he gave him like $500. Right. It was just like a thing that they were doing, random, whatever. And he said the guy that started crying, and he said, what's wrong? He says, well, now I get to be the father that she thought I was. Because she couldn't provide her a birthday party the week before.
Right.
Right. And I think that we carry so much of those moments as parents, I'm sure as men, right? Like the perceptions of what we want and what we think it should be like. And one of the other topics we'll kind of get into is kind of like that generational parenting again, right, and how that matters to us so much. And I think sometimes we just have to have like-minded conversations like we're doing now, and normalize those conversations between parents, and being honest about, again, how we're feeling. We can talk about all this other stuff we got going on in the world, but it's a commonality to feel less than as a parent, or feel great as a parent, or being proud. Right. And I think that, how do we think about parenting differently than we were parenting? Right. One of the things that, obviously Deion Sanders is a coach of Colorado, right? But he always talks about how when you send your son to play football for me, I'm gonna send you back a man. It's not just a coach, right? Not just a player, right? And on average, his football team averaged a 3.0 GPA.
Wow.
All across all his players.
That's excellent.
Right.
That's
so
excellent.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
And, one of the things he talked about is that just also not just dealing with the kids, but dealing with the parents. Right. And he said they used to call up the dads and be like, when was the last time you seen your son play? When was the last time you had a conversation with them? And he says, man, like, I can't provide for them. I can't do this. I can't do that. He said, I check in. He said, but look, dog, I just need you to come to the game.
Yeah.
Come to the game, do a head nod. That's all I need you to do. I don't need you to give them nothing. I don't need you to have no conversations yet. Show up to the game and what that does to you. And sometimes we overthink parenting.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We overthink it. And I think that for me, I always want to make sure that I'm present in the right way. As a man, right? So, those are the things that I try to have conversations with my kids about, and not just. My daughter says I like to be codependent. Like what she said, I like to be I like to coexist.
Okay.
Right. So like if they're in
the kitchen. She said that about you.
Yeah. So like if I could be in the room and she could be in the kitchen cooking, she said, and then you just like appear. Like you just
Dad's being nosy.
Right? Like you start wiping stuff down, you start cleaning, or
that's him eavesdropping.
Yeah, you want to make food, all of a sudden you're in the kitchen cleaning. You just like to just be around, right? But I do. So I don't want to invade your privacy, but I want to be in your.
You
in your
ear
space.
hustling.
Yeah, but she may not be even talking about nothing.
You ear hustling.
Right? So it's like she's on this fitness journey. I'd be like cracking jokes. I'm like, what are you doing? Like you don't want like a Twinkie or nothing like that? No, I don't. Right. or like, my son, like, he's definitely jumped into like the sports thing, right? And he's trying to like the sports betting, he won a little money while he bet on the Eagles one game. So like I try to get into those type of things. And the music I can't, we just have a different background when it comes to music. But like I almost sometimes even baby Christian's 19 years old.
Yeah.
But I'll just go in the room and just hug him and just jump on his bed and do all that type of stuff too, right?
Yep.
Just to be in their presence.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important because I don't know if we had. Well, I can speak for me. I don't know if I had that as a kid. And I had good parents, but it wasn't always about like we had like the tough love. Right, like and my father passed when I was younger, so it was just me and my mom. So that transition, right, of her being mom and dad, and protector and all those things, right. We didn't always get the soft version of that, right. My brothers and them will probably say it different because I'm the baby, right. But at the end of the day, I think that how do we parent them different than we were parented? That's the thing. So like, what do you feel like what do you lead with when it comes to your parenting, right? Like, so you think about how maybe you were raised or that generation, maybe it's not directly for you. What do you think like you try to do differently as a parent?
I parent age appropriate.
Okay.
I think that's very important. And I think that's something that we probably do miss as parents. We don't parent our children based on what their age is, right? So I have an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old, right? So, and we're, as you know our relationship, we're very close. A couple weeks ago, my son was here and he literally jumped in my lap and just sat on my lap like he was a baby again. And I'm talking about my oldest one. Shout out to Xavier. I'm talking about him, right? And I just hugged on him and loved him and kissed on him, right? But at the same time, he's 20, right? So if he was to make a 20-year-old decision, then I'm not going to sit here and parent him as if he's 10 or 11 years old. I have to respect that this is a decision. You're 20 years old. I'm going to talk to you about the decision you made. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm going to offer my opinion to you, but you're 20 years old, right? So it makes it easier for him to come back to me and say, Mom, like, you was right, I messed up. But that's something you had to experience. And what I don't like, I don't want to say that I don't like, but I think we do this. We y'all, we know as parents, we know we done did any and everything, right? We done did everything that our kids could even think of. It just looks a little bit different, right? They doing the same thing. Like, I know what you're doing. You know good and well that's not your friend. That's more than a friend or whatever the case may be. But we try to protect them from all the mistakes that we've made. Or we'll say statements like this. I did all of these things so you won't have to go through it. Guess what? They're going to go through it.
Yeah.
It might not look like yours. It may look a little bit different. It might not hurt as bad. Theirs might be a little bit softer or theirs might be a little bit harder. But they're going to go through it. They have to go through their own challenges and they have to make their own mistakes. That's where they grow. That's where they learn, right? So for me, I'm allowing my sons to make their mistakes and I'm going to be there for them when they make good decisions, when they make bad decisions. And we're going to have a conversation about what they learned from that. So that looks different for me because growing up, I was shown a lot of love. And that's why I'm so affectionate with my own sons and they're affectionate, right? I was shown a lot of love, right? So, however, it was, don't do this. And if I did it, then there wasn't the conversation of what transpired. It was the immediate consequence, right? And sometimes however you were disciplined as a child, that consequence doesn't tell you what decision to make next time you're faced with something, right? So offering a conversation, offering a dialogue, wow. So how did that feel? So what do you think you need to do different next time so this won't happen? For sure. Right? These are teachable moments.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I'm still consistently learning, right? I think one of the best pieces of advice I received years ago was always be an open book so your kids won't be afraid to tell you anything, right? And I'm still learning that, right? Because you always want to protect. You always want to teach the lesson. I jumped to the lesson really quickly. Like, so what do you think about that? Like, what did you learn from that? Make sure, right? So trying to make sure we're having those type of conversations and talking through them. But I have a lot of preventable conversations as if that's going to stop them from not making the consequence.
They still going to tap that toe in that water.
They're still going to tap the toe in the water, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing for me, is just making sure I'm also going through that with them. And one of the things that I'm trying to learn is how to have an emotional reaction. And when I say emotional, like sometimes I'm just always too composed, right? And sometimes my kids want to see me cry, right? How do you feel about this X, Y, and Z, Dad? Like my son would say, so how you feel about it? And I'm just like, I jump to the lesson. Well, here's what I would do, right? You didn't ask me that. You asked me, how do I feel about it? Right? So I struggle with articulating how I feel about X, right? Because that may just be, it could be me safe havening him to say, well, I'm disappointed. Why would you? Why did this happen? Or Shay, why would you? Those type of things, right? So I think that trying to find what that balance is for myself, because I may struggle with that myself.
Yeah.
And you may ask me like, so how you feeling today, buddy? I'm like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
You do that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you like, that don't sound right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think, again, it's how does that blend into your parenting?
Yeah. It's important that because we're human first. We're human first, right? So, and our kids need to see the human side of us.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't always need to see mom or dad being mom and dad all the time. They need to see different parts of us, right? Because that we're part of them. So the more that they learn about us, they learn about themselves.
Yeah, for
right?
Sure, for sure.
So, it's just, just giving yourself permission to just be in front of them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, especially in front of your son, right? Because all of these, generations with black men particularly, was told not to cry, not to do this, not to do that when it came down to emotions, right? So, for him to be able to see you vulnerable or may see you drop a tear here and there, whatever the case may be, may see you, reach a level of anger, but know how to de-escalate yourself and bring yourself down. That's teaching him emotional intelligence.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, good advice.
Yeah. You're welcome. I'll send you my bill.
Okay.
So what is our takeaways? We like to leave our listeners with something that they can take and implement. So what would you like to leave them with?
I think that I would say to us as parents is, don't be afraid to tell your story. I think you kind of touched on it, right? We're human. We're a part of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes sharing our experiences with them helps them. My kids will say that, those things are important. I want to know how you handled X.
Yeah.
Right. How did you handle Y? Right. How does this make you feel? And I think it's okay to do that. And I think it's okay to have vulnerable moments with each other. Right. As a parent and kids, or as just from parent to parent.
Right.
Right. I think that those are big deals for us. So talk to your kids. Make sure that you're asking them questions. Get to know their friends, honestly, right? Sometimes that's a reflection into certain things. And be able to be flexible. Be flexible and not always stand on, they say stand on business, right? Sometimes you have to be flexible inside of their world and meet them where they are.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Good advice.
Yeah.
Dr. Wilkerson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. And, as always, again, at Rebirth, we are about renewing, rebuilding, and restoring, ourselves. So we can walk in our purpose and heal ourselves. Again, I said my word for 2025 is healing. And it is so needed, especially with all that we have been seeing thus far. In this new year. So continue to just grow, continue to Just tap into yourselves, continue to check on each other, and make sure you guys are practicing your self-care, because that's going to be really, really important getting through this season. So, any last words for you?
No, I think that you summed it up.
Okay.
Definitely, we are human.
We are
human. And we need to come together in this year.
Yes,
for
yes.
sure.
And there's no book for being a perfect parent. And you don't want to be a perfect parent. You don't, right? So thank you guys again for tuning in. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. Make sure you subscribe to Rebirth Podcast. We're on all podcast platforms at Rebirth U Podcast. Okay? Thank you again. I'll see you next Monday. Until then, have a blessed night.
Have a good one.